Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Build with Stakki. And this week we have Jeremy Schiff. That's said that right?
You did, and most
Yeah,
people don't, so thank you.
excellent, nailed it. The CEO over at SalesBot, data enrichment tool, but much more than that as well. Jeremy, lovely to have you on. Do you want to give everyone a bit of an introduction?
Yeah, so quick background on myself. First of all, James, thanks for having me. Glad we finally made this happen. We've known each other a
Yeah,
while now.
excellent.
Quick background on me, I guess. Background is in AI. I'm like a hardcore AI guy by background. I found my way to sales rather than the other way around. Started my career with a PhD in AI and robotics from Berkeley. My first company was the AI photo editor of companies like MySpace and PhotoBucket, if anyone remembers that far back
Yeah,
in time.
yeah,
It was a wild ride. It was a bunch of us in college and grad school, and we grew to 50 million people using the app every month. Second company was personalized restaurant recommendations. So we would describe it as Netflix's recommendation algorithm applied to Yelp data.
yeah,
Sold that to OpenTable. Was responsible for sort of rebuilding the search engine using a lot of more modern AI and sort of technologies, and working on a couple of other sort of interesting AI problems for the restaurant half of the house. Then I took a year off and wandered the world because I was pretty tired after working so hard for so long. Visited 15 different countries,
nice.
and then came back
What
and
was
was
the
like,
best
well,
one? What was the best one you went to?
it all depends on for what you want to do. The one that was most unexpectedly amazing was Singapore.
Yeah,
Like Singapore
nice.
was a totally different universe. It was
Yeah,
it was very cool. It's pretty insular society, but a good friend of mine had been living there for 15 years, so I got all the like
the
insider
local
track
knowledge.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, the food is amazing. The people there are remarkable. It's a really unique place. I really
excellent,
enjoyed Singapore.
excellent.
Um, and yeah, and then I was like, what happens if we recommend uh, people instead of recommending places? And so that's sort of how SalesBot was born. Is what if we take all of the sort of cutting edge AI technologies that are applied to lots of other fields and make it a lot easier to find the right people and get a hold of them?
Great intro there, and it's going to be really interesting. I think you're probably the first, maybe the first guest that we've had, which has come from AI background into sales rather than sales into AI. So we'll get into it after we've done maybe like the build with Stakki, and we'll find out a little bit about, I guess, the ins and outs of what makes AI really good and really important. And you can probably advise, a lot of our viewers on how to think about it as they apply it to their sales stack. And obviously,
Sure.
we'll get into that with some of how you've built SalesBot. So let's, give me a bit of a rundown actually onto how's the outbound team look at the moment at SalesBot. How many sort of reps have you got doing outbound, and what channels are they using?
Yeah, so we're a very sort of efficient company. We just sort of have a handful of reps right now, but we're doing sort of a lot of AI automation at scale. So we're doing a lot of email, not surprisingly, but trying to push the sort of deep personalization to a very different level to get better response rates and all of that sort of stuff. The sort of 2024 uh, text snippet doesn't really cut it anymore. Never really did, but people sort of hoped it would. We do a lot with LinkedIn automation. And we're starting to invest a little bit more in phone now, which is interesting. Email and LinkedIn email's gotten way harder in the last 18 months. LinkedIn has gotten a little bit harder in the last 18 months, and phone hasn't really shifted much. So it's been interesting. Not like we've just honestly been seeing where our customers are going, and a lot of them that are still seeing a lot of success in meeting generation are were either very phone heavy already or are shifting more phone heavy. And we've just been sort of like taking a page out of their book.
Yeah, the phone never died. I don't think it ever will, right? And I think you're definitely right. I think there's a move back towards cold calling
Hmm.
as a great channel. I think over this side of the pond, definitely seeing it a lot more. And I'm completely biased as a cold caller. That's my bread and butter. But excellent, great to get a bit of insight. We'll come back round to maybe all the knowledge you've got around the AI and the tools, and why where AI can work. But let's look into just at the moment build with Stakki. See what tools are you using to really help that team drive forward. Now, knowing you, I'm pretty sure it's Salesforce. Is that the CRM, or is it maybe a HubSpot?
Our CRM is Salesforce, but we're
Yeah,
like SalesBot integrates with Salesforce now, and we're adding HubSpot news soon as well.
yeah, excellent. So SalesBot, obviously the tool for you guys for all of your list building, all of your data, um,
Yep.
and a lot of the email automation off the back of that as well, right?
Yep.
Do you need any other tools for data for mobiles and stuff, or are you solely
No,
relying on your own?
we rely purely on our own.
Love that.
And we found that there's some pretty crazy stats in terms of we're seeing connect rates going up by 50%. We're seeing accuracy rates. So that's the percentage of people that are inside of your ICP answering the phone. It's not their
Mm-hmm.
mother or their uncle and they haven't switched jobs. We're seeing that
Yeah,
going up by 50%. There are all sorts of like interesting stats in terms of we do sort of an enrichment waterfall, sort of similar to what a couple of other
maybe
companies are trying to do now,
like
but
full
it's much
enrich,
easier to
better
use.
contact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Except you just hit the button and we sort of automatically do all of the finding for you. And
Mm-hmm.
we're starting to invest in AI that will lean on different vendors differently depending on where your leads are coming from. So you might imagine that
Amazing.
like EMEA vendors might be different than US vendors, or IT vendors might be different than
Yeah,
like medical stuff or healthcare stuff or construction stuff.
yeah,
So we're evaluating all the time how to balance the efficacy while still leveraging all of these amazing different providers of data.
yeah. Exactly. That's I think one of the best uses of AI. And see, we said this. We said we'd get into the AI stuff quickly, but one of the best uses of AI at the moment is helping you select the right data, because a lot of people are familiar with what waterfall enrichment is now, and people use it in Clay. But if you just go to Clay and you put in waterfall enrichment, it's on you to select them in the right order. You might not even have the best providers in there unless you have your own license and you connect to the
That's right.
API.
Yep.
So anything that uses AI to actually pre-select and change the order in which that waterfall happens based on the prospect you're trying to get hold of is going to add so much value.
Yep. And again, yeah, something like Clay, like that's the trick. That is the nice thing about Clay is that you have a lot of control. The problem with Clay is that means you have to be incredibly well informed of exactly which vendors to use in which situations for which. And
Yeah,
no one has time for that. They're just like, I need phone numbers and emails so I can start contacting people.
exactly. And it's kind of that little bit of frustration and that like context switching that slows down the SDRs, slows down the A's when they're trying to do the work. They
Yep.
don't want to be working all of that out. They just want to click a button. Is there a number here? Okay, click it. Is there a number here? So if you get someone, you need to have that intelligence and that like familiarity with how to talk to AI, set it up properly to get the best use out of it, right?
Sure.
Are you guys using Clay then at all, or
We don't use it directly very often, but a number of our customers do. So, like
yeah,
one
thought so.
concrete example would be we have one great customer that's doing supporting a lot of they sell into restaurants. They have like a device that they sell to restaurants to help with like the controlling of the menu. I'm sure a lot of people have sort of seen that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
And so they use SalesBot to go and find all of the relevant people in their TAM because we're much better at sort of finding we can find 5 to 10 times more people in your TAM using our AI. But then once they found those people, they'll stick that into Clay, and Clay has a specific vendor that'll help you with the number of restaurants that a specific franchise has.
mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah,
that's like an additional level of filtering that they can do that's been pretty valuable for them.
yeah, smart that, but not in your stack then. So we've
Nope.
got Salesforce, SalesBot taking care of a lot of angles here.
Yep.
What is the mode of outreach? I know obviously with your own tool, you're going to be doing some email automation, which is going to be working really well.
Yep.
You mentioned a little
So
bit of LinkedIn also. What tools are
Definitely
you using?
LinkedIn. Definitely LinkedIn. We are using our own email sender as well as using Instantly. We actually do both and sort of like
Nice.
A/B test. I think they Instantly and Smart Leads are doing some really innovative stuff on the
Yeah.
email side, and so it's always interesting to compare where we are better than them or where they're better than us. But we use
Hmm.
both.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so that's really where we've been on the email side. And then LinkedIn, we have LinkedIn automation. We're using a tool called Copilot, not to
Yeah.
be confused with an AI Copilot, which has been pretty
Okay.
good at sort of automated LinkedIn connection requests and
Yeah.
things of that nature. And then we've been yeah, so I mean that's sort of the majority of our stack. And as I said, we're still playing
Perfect.
with phone. We have pretty good relationships with a lot of the phone vendors, but we're not we haven't bought a sort of parallel or power dialer yet.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. I would definitely look at front spin if I was you guys. Front
I
spin
have good.
or phone burner. Front spin and phone burner both are like probably the leading dialers in the US for sure. They've got direct relationships with carriers. They don't, they haven't white labeled Twilio or something like that, like a lot of other dialers. They will protect your phone reputation and
Hmm.
connectivity so much better than other dialers.
Good to know. Yeah, I've met the CEO of Frontspin, very smart guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mansoor, very smart guy.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely check those out. Um, Excellent. So then that's it for your outbound sales team.
On the outbound side, yes. We're also growing a lot from referrals. We're growing a lot through conferences. We're growing a lot through organic social media and SEO.
Yeah,
But on the outbound side, that's right.
that is just what I personally love to see. And we imagine we have a dialer in here as well, or we've got the LinkedIn tool that you also use.
Sure.
It demonstrates that whilst we're in this space, and this is maybe a nice segue, we're in this space where LinkedIn, G2, lots of websites and lots of sort of influencers are telling users that they need multiple tools. You see it on LinkedIn every day, these posts which have signal this, identify that, go to Clay, enrich this is, and by the time you get to the end of that post, they've named 12 or 13 different tools
Yeah.
that an SDR needs to be using. And it slows, the big thing that misses out is it's time consuming to work out how to get all of that working. It's distracting for your SDRs. It it's not going to help SDRs be the best at speaking to people. Whereas what you're showing here, good CRM, great email automation, great data, great email automation support, and a LinkedIn automation tool, that
Yeah.
is going to help you grow a business.
I totally agree with you about the simplicity. I actually think a lot of people are like they get a lot of serotonin hits by building out the automation, and everyone knows how brutal getting doing cold calling is. So it's very hard if your options are how am I going to feel rewarded today? Making 200 phone calls and having the door slammed on my face over and over and over, or going and building some automation. Um, but this is exactly the point about SalesBot is we're trying to take a lot of the value of that automation and do each of those in one click, right? Yes, I could go
Yeah,
and configure a very extensive automation for phone enrichment in Clay or something like that. It's really powerful, really flexible. It's probably going to take me days, and I'm probably going to need some sort of Claygency or a Clay expert to go and do it. And in SalesBot, I mean, I was just talking to a customer today. They were surprised. They're like, so what do we do with the phone numbers? I'm like, so you get your list, you click the button that says like export all, and then you click the phone and email button and you hit OK and you have a CSV. There's nothing else to do. Go and load it into your dialer or load it into your email product and start generating leads. Like there's a yeah, just the sort of desire for complexity I think is also really interesting. And there's also this weird thing going on I think with social media right now where people are trying to be like, look, I'm an expert because I'm using 17 tools and you're just using 3, and they're trying to sort of evoke a notion of FOMO.
yeah,
um, but
100%.
which is like, oh, well, I'm only doing okay. And it's actually funny. The firms that are being most successful that we're talking to have very simple, have, I would argue, the more successful the firm, the simpler the tech stack, not the more complicated. They have they have like a CRM, they have something that does emails, they have something that does phone, and they're usually using 1 to 2 data vendors, and that's it. And they're just focused on operational efficiency and training their team and doing all the things that are hard about the actual aspects of sales.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we've seen. I did a check through of everybody that's come to Stakki that we've spoken to, that we've helped with the SDR teams, and the people that have been on this podcast. And the average number of tools of the SDR teams that are performing and they're looking for ways to increase their performance was 5.6 tools, which gives you CRM, a dialer, perhaps an engagement tool, and then you've got space for 2 to 3 data options.
Yep.
That's all you
That's
need.
it. Yep.
That's it.
It's actually
And
interesting. I'm starting to see a lot of companies that are segmenting now. They're like, I don't even want my SDRs distracted. We have a research team that's 1/20th
yeah,
the size of our actual team, and they pull all the records. And like the SDR doesn't get to play with anything else. They show up every day. There's a list loaded up, and
they
they start
crack on.
calling. Yep.
Yeah. I think that what's going to happen, you see, you mentioned this, the people that are posting on LinkedIn, they're creating that element of FOMO by demonstrating, I know how to use these 17 different tools. Whereas, like, they're trying to create this go-to-market engineer role and there maybe is a place for it. Or I think in the larger businesses that you and I speak to, they're kind of the research team. And I think what's going to happen, and if it was my team, I would direct people to go, is you'd have the one go-to-market engineer or stroke research person. They can use these tools to build really good lists, capture everything. That can feed twice as many SDRs who can just then rip on the phone. I can just coach them to be really good, and then that can feed twice as many AEs. I
Totally
think
agree.
that's the
And again,
direction.
even the notion, this has always been the direction. People just sort of like, I mean, we're just renaming things as the industry likes to do every couple of years. Like just saying I'm a HubSpot admin or a Salesforce admin isn't sexy anymore. So you don't want to say I'm a HubSpot admin, a Salesforce admin, and a Clay admin. So now I'm a go-to-market engineer. And I'm not trying to be reductionist on like the role. There is more like sophistication about like being informed and thinking about the tools, but it's a natural like sort of extrapolation of that role inside of an organization already. I think the sort of unarticulated shift is the impact that you can have to driving top line money, right? Just generating more revenue, leveraging AI is so much higher that now an SDR, or sorry, like Salesforce admin that used to be able to charge X can now charge 3X, going and sort of helping sort of optimize the top. So I think there's a rebranding just because it's around the value, but arguably the skill set and people are actually pretty similar. What's actually changed a lot is the tools.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think in a similar way that it's all about getting capacity to the SDRs. I think the SDR is the person that is talking to the customers for the first time, tracking
Yep.
that, following up with that. And you don't want them dealing with all these tools. So, if you're going to pay if it's now 3x, but that means that if it's 3x for what used to maybe be a Salesforce consultant, Salesforce admin, now it's a go-to-market engineer. If their skills are now 3x, well, with all the tools that they should now, anyone selling themselves as that should be able to stitch together for you, you should be able to get 2x, maybe 3x out of some of your SDR team.
Oh, for
And
sure.
so it does pay itself back
Mhm.
if people are willing to give it the right amount of time to test. Where we see people go wrong is they dive in and they buy the 3 or 4 new shiny tools, and no one's learned the first one before they've then been given a login to the second one or the third one or the fourth one.
Yeah.
So it never actually gets off the ground, and you waste a year, maybe 2 years.
I actually like I think it was Hermosi that was saying this. I don't normally sort of like quote other like social people, but he made sort of an interesting thing where he really pushes on like start with one channel. Because if you just have one channel, you have to find a way to make it work, as opposed to you can sort of like lie to yourself that you're making a little bit of momentum across 5 channels, which I think is like an interesting distinction, right? Like I know a lot of people that are like, I sent out 500 emails and I didn't get any responses. And I'm like, do you think that's your messaging and targeting, or do you think that's just like email doesn't work for your industry? Because
Yeah,
like it just means there's got to be iteration and experimentation before you're going to find something that works. And like same with your call script and all of this sort of stuff. And so um, rapid iteration and testing. And again, maybe it's because I'm an AI and data guy by training. I'm like, you start with something crappy and then you make it a little bit better and you make it a little bit better. And if you make something a little bit better every day, 6 months or a year from now, it is a lot better.
yeah, 100%. And often I actually say this. I say this almost daily to the people, the SDRs and the people that I coach around cold calling. Like they have an issue around, I don't know, maybe they don't feel like they get enough people are picking up, or switchboards never let them through. So you can coach them on that, but it doesn't mean every single switchboard is going to get you through. You might just get a marginal gain. You might get an extra 1 or 2% today, which over time, and all we're doing is stacking marginal gains and habits, and that's what creates good cold calling over time. Whereas most people go, "Oh, I've called for a day, no one answered, or 2 people answered, and I just got told to f off," and that's that.
I love the way that you just framed it, because there's like a funny metaphor that should relate to almost everyone in sales, which is like going to the gym, right? We all started out going to the gym. We were lifting 5 pound weights and we were like, why is this so heavy? And then you just start lifting a little more every day. And suddenly you're benching your weight. And then suddenly it's going way past that and so on and so forth. I really like the idea of what you're saying, which is just like measure whatever you're like, how often are you getting through? How often are you getting to the right person? How often are you booking a meeting? And just be like, my goal next week is not to get to X. My goal is to improve on where I am by 5%.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
do that you go up 5% every week for a couple of months. You'll double pretty quick.
Exactly. And that's what like is so important about having a lean stack, because that creates the space to give that coaching and that and space for that upskilling and working out, okay, where can I get a bit better, where can I get a bit better, where can I get a bit better, and that's what's going to give you pipeline over time. But all these posts and the FOMO that's created in the market, people feel like they need results much quicker now, which means they're not willing, or they're less willing to give it the 6 months, 12 months to build like an outbound cold calling team in particular, because it's intense. The training that you have to do is intense, but it's still the one that I would always go to.
And again, the goal, people also want to sort of scale up faster, right? You need to get one rep who's being really effective and then find a way to clone that person. Like it doesn't like having 10 reps that are all not performing well is harder than one rep who isn't performing well. You're not magically gonna like the math doesn't math the way that people sort of think sometimes about the people scaling.
Exactly. So it's now with all this AI and all the different AI tools. From your perspective, as someone who's come AI to sales, where should people be using it or thinking about adding it in to the processes?
Yeah, so I'll just sort of walk from like the beginning of the funnel all the way through from my perspective. So,
Yeah, that's
uh,
so
starting
helpful.
starting out, segmentation.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, giving you could start with something as simple as literally just giving a bunch of content to ChatGPT or a Claude or something like that. Segmenting your market. You do not want to go after one market. The more you can niche down and have different, very narrow, specific messaging for different clientele, the better. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, SalesBot, we were just talking before this call about how much we're focused a lot on agencies as one of our main
Yeah,
ICPs. The language that you talk to an agency versus a mid-market versus an enterprise customer needs to be really, really different. And if you're trying to use generic language across all of them, it will just fall flat across all of them and none of it will work. So my first rule ever is if you're not getting through to, if you're not able to talk to the right people, just keep niching down until you're
Mm.
like, until you know exactly the entire life and experience of the individual.
Yeah.
So then the next step is, how do I go and find the relevant people that I want to go and target in my list? And there's a balance that needs to happen, though in a funny way, they're not necessarily at odds, which is I want to expand my TAM as much as possible. And
Hmm.
oftentimes people will say, well, I already have enough people in my TAM. Why would it be helpful to 5X my TAM? And I'm like, well, that means 80% of the people you're trying to sell to, your customers haven't heard from you, and your customers haven't heard from your competitors. You don't think they're going to be more responsive than the 20% that are getting 15 calls a day about the exact same thing over and over and over?
Yeah.
And the data does bear that out. We do see much
Mm.
better. Like our AI will do that for you. You literally describe your ICP in natural language, and we'll generate the search for you. And we can
Yeah.
see that our meeting to book rate is like over 2x industry average, um, 2.75 with some of our most effective customers, um, because you can sort of expand that TAM.
Such a
But
good
there's a
point.
trade-off, which is if you expand your TAM too much, then you lose the relevancy and that niching down. So you need to make
Mm.
sure that all of these people are relevant. And so just a concrete example, if you're looking for founder, look for co-founder. If you're looking for VP of
Yeah.
sales, look for VP of revenue. There are all these other sort of little tips and tricks that can help expand it out. There's no difference between selling to a VP of revenue and a VP of sales. That is the same ICP. They just name
Yeah.
themselves differently.
Yeah.
Don't go after a VP of marketing and treat them like a VP of sales. That will not work. So that's the next step. Then there's sort of the filtering of your list, and there's a couple of interesting sort of companies that I'm seeing that are playing around with sort of AI driven evaluation of your specific ICPs and sort of going and doing that. We're playing around with some really exciting stuff, which hopefully I can announce the next time I come on your show in a couple months.
Nice.
Um, then there is the or then the research piece. So going and understanding for every lead, what is the context that I might need to know about this individual? This might be, and there are a lot of different places this can come from. This can come from job postings to understand tech stack. This can come from sort of public filing reports. This can come from social media. There are all sorts of different places this can come from. But the more you, again, live in their world and can give context about what they're doing, the more interesting and effective it's ultimately going to be. So
Yeah.
this means, hey, when I'm doing my cold call and I manage to get through and I get someone's time, saying like, hey, I'm calling you because I saw that this happened. You were complaining about this on LinkedIn, or you have this
Mhm.
job posting about you're buying this new tool, and I know that we can be helpful in this way. You have a totally different level of credibility in the space.
Yeah.
Then the next is, in some instances, like email, you can do deeper personalization based on that research. And so,
Mhm.
I we're there, at least with us, we've actually shifted away from sort of snippet-based personalization to literally one button, click it, and go and personalize the entire message based on all of the context we can find within SalesBot's database of 690 million people and within sort of the public internet, and sort of fusing
Mm.
all of that together.
Yeah.
You can have profoundly better results. And not only that, the results seem a lot more fluid and contiguous because the AI has the context of the entire sort of conversation stream,
Yeah.
as opposed to just a snippet inside of one message. We've all seen the like, here are three value propositions about why company X might want to work with your company. And you're
Yeah.
like, this is like there's a running
And
joke that I like to say that the only thing worse than a not personalized email is a badly personalized email.
yeah, 100%.
It can be really off-putting. Then once you've gone and sort of done the research around the email and phone and have generated the content, then you're moving later in the funnel. So now sort of using these sort of transcript software that'll go and pull in data about like whatever calls you're making, what's working, what isn't working. Whenever I have a call that goes sideways, I'll actually take my recording and toss it into multiple generative AIs and have them give me
Hmm.
feedback about what I did well and what I did poorly.
Yeah.
That sort of feedback and detailed coaching isn't something you can actually give your reps. Just doesn't scale with your managers.
Yeah.
But uh, having ChatGPT or Anthropic or Gemini or whatever analyze every call like that can be really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Similarly, configuring it so that you can go and generate email follow-ups. All of my AI has have all of the context about SalesBot or business. It literally inserts my calendar link and knows which calendar to link to provide based on the context that I have. It's pretty cool.
That is
Um,
cool.
and then and then again, there's all sorts of other stuff that we're seeing with like AI based sales coaching or real time feedback on a call
Yeah.
and all of that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
now we're getting a little further from where
Yeah.
I live day to day. But you can see each
But
one of these are really impactful, and the weirdest part is how multiplicative they can be. Right. So if I expand say I'm using SalesBot and I expand my TAM by 5x, and then I expand um, my open rate or my click rate or my connect rate by 50%, and then I expand my accuracy rate by 50%. All of these compound on each other, and
yeah.
all of a sudden you don't have a 4x or 1x or 2x gain. You end up with a 10x or a 20x or a 40x gain
Yeah.
based on all of these things multiplying together. And for me,
Yeah.
that's what's really excited about. It's pretty crazy given how long sales has been around and how much people have been doing things the same way for a while now. And yet, like, there's still literally 40x gains available in the pipeline if you do things better.
Yeah. And that's where AI can help.
That's right.
One of the things I'll also highlight there for our viewers is that all the uses of AI you mentioned there, it's not, you're not trying to replace the human speaking to a human. You're actually using it segmentation, search for ICPs, filtering lists, help with extra research to give extra context, transcriptions and coaching. It's all the stuff that if you're a salesperson, you didn't get into sales so that you could, you know, source contacts, put them on lists and follow up and all that sort of stuff. You did it so you can speak to people and close deals and solve problems for people. That's one of the key things there that I think is needs to be stood out and pointed to for everybody as they see this FOMO, they see more tools coming out and people convincing you that you can do everything with tools.
Yeah. And I think it's funny. It's become sort of a trope now, but I actually was saying it like 2 years ago. AI isn't going to take your job, but someone using AI will. So like
That's
you have to
such a
go
good
and
way.
work out where the AI is really going to give those not 5% or 10% gains, but 5x or 10x gains, and really lean hard into those things and make sure those are working, and then go and sort of add the next thing, as opposed to trying to build the grand unified theory of sales, which doesn't really work.
Exactly. Great note to finish it on there, Jeremy. Great insight into AI, great insight into everything you're doing at SalesBot. Really appreciate your time. Where can people find you, or where can they find SalesBot? What's best?
Yeah, so we're on Stakki, of course. Love the site and everything you're doing there, James. But you could just come straight to salesbot.io. Feel free to, if you want just general, you want to make sure you speak to someone right away, just sales@salesbot.io, or just go and sort of fill in our website. Or if you want to email me directly about something AI related, it's jschiff, J like my first letter of my first name, and Schiff like my last name, at salesbot.io. I spend a lot of time talking to customers, talking about product features, talking about roadmap, and frankly, just helping people work out which tools to use in which contexts. Based on everything, we're speaking to a lot of customers. I have pretty broad visibility. So um, I appreciate everyone joining in the podcast and looking forward to some conversations.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube and on our socials at Stakki. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.